CBS 6 News. Tonight's topic, the Constitution. The United States Constitution, a solution to the Articles of Confederation. As Henry Knox put the Articles of Confederation, our present federal government is a name, a shadow, without power or effect. Problems with the Articles of Confederation included not thinking as a nation, but thinking separately as states. Deep in debt after the war, the newly born American country had no way to collect federal taxes and could not support itself. Another main problem with the Articles of Confederation is the Congress had no power, and they had no army to equip, fight, or crush a rebellion such as Shays' Rebellion. Now for a word from our sponsors.
Here's a couple of things America got right. Cars and freedom.
We're back, folks. The delegates converged on Philadelphia. Their demographics were quite similar. All being white men, mostly born in the colonies, the majority of them practiced law or had legal training as a previous career. They were all well educated for the time, making them part of the elite class in the new states. All of them were very well off financially, also making them part of the elite class. All also held a lot of political experience. Although the men were all very similar, disagreements did arise. A disagreement arose between the large states and the small states concerning how they would be represented in the legislative branch. Representing the small states, the New Jersey plan enacted that there should be a single body just with an equal representation through the Senate. The large state plan, known as the Virginia plan, suggested a bicameral legislation where one was based on population and the other was based on equal representation. The compromise, the Connecticut Compromise, also known as the Great Compromise, combined the two plans to where the states would have power driven from the people for the House of Representatives, and Senate would be equal representation. On the issue of slavery, the southern states wanted the slaves to count towards their votes in the House of Representatives, but this couldn't count, so the three-fifths compromise came up, where every slave in the South or the North would count for three-fifths of a person instead of a whole person. For the presidential election, they were scared that the people were not smart enough to elect a president, so they developed the Electoral College in order to make sure that even the elite had their hand in this of electing the president. People afraid of the executive branch gaining too much power decided originally that the term length for the president should be 7 years, but after a great compromise, they turned it down to 4 years. Another power of the executive branch that they were afraid of, that having one executive would gain too much power, so that for a while they thought possibly having multiple executives, but in the end they decided to have one president as the executive head. So now let's take it to Spencer in the field.
Thanks, Spencer. I'm here at the National Archives, and they have let me have the honor of holding the pen used to sign the United States Constitution, and might I say, it's an honor. Back to you, Spencer.
Thanks for that, Spencer. The Anti-Federalists strongly opposed the ratification of the Constitution, fearing that it would give the national government too much power and would take away from the states' power. One of the reasons was they thought that the House of Representatives didn't actually have enough representatives to represent the people's true voice. Also, they felt that senators would be able to gain too much power with not having any limits on their re-elections. And finally, without having a Bill of Rights in the Constitution, they thought that it couldn't truly protect the people's rights as citizens of the United States. Many people were concerned that the Constitution was an elitist document that excluded numerous people. One, it excluded women because none of them were present at the Constitutional Convention and they did not have the right to vote. Also, all other races weren't included in the say of the Constitutional Convention because all of the delegates were white. And finally, people with less education weren't truly spoken for either, because most of the men at the Constitutional Convention were well educated. Reasons for the government not being a direct democracy include having the electoral college, where the people truly don't decide who the president is. Instead, they have elected officials decide. And then also, having a republic in the legislature makes it so that direct democracy does not decide the laws, but in fact your representatives do. Thank you for joining us this evening. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night for tomorrow's topic, the Magna Carta. Good night.